Okay, this is Business Networking for Success and Company Growth Part 3, Section 3. What you're looking at, Willis, Lecture 5, Introduction, 5, 4, 3.
Well, welcome back. So in the past, in my other trainings, if you've seen any of those trainings and previous to this section, we've talked about the different kind of networking formats. We've also talked about the different kind of networking groups that you can attend, and it all boils down to preparation, right? So in this section, we're going to talk about everything else. So we talked about how much it costs to attend networking events previously as well. And there's a whole bunch of other little things to consider before you start attending networking events in order to maximize your effectiveness at these events. And so in this section, we'll cover all those little different things. And so take good notes, because there's a lot of things that you really want to pay attention to, that you really want to examine before you go, that most people just don't think about. So we'll see you in the next section.
Okay, good. Now we're doing Lecture 8, Bigger is Not Always Better.
Okay.
So Chaffee, you and I have both gone to lots of different networking events, and sometimes bigger is not always, we always think the bigger it is, the better it is, right? We don't want to go to the country fair that just has one ride. We want to go to the country fair that has so many rides we couldn't do them all in a month. But when it comes to networking, I suspect it's a little bit of a different story.
Absolutely. And I blame this sometimes on the misconception that a lot of companies will tell their networkers or will tell their employees that you want to go to a place where there's a lot of people, because where there's a lot of people, you can get a lot of leads. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you go to bigger events, it's a lot more difficult to network with somebody. And why is this? Is because a lot of times these big events, they have a bunch of music and it's a big social and everyone is in a party atmosphere and they're not really thinking about business, right? Even though it's a business networking, shall we say, it's really just like a big party. And so I've been to these events where there's 500 or 1,000 people, and there's this big, DJ playing music in the background, and I can't hear anything. And the entire time, all I'm doing is, "Hey, how are you? My name's Chaffee Tyne Wynn. What do you do?" And that's all we're doing, is we're yelling, and I can't hear anything. And it's the same with the other person as well. And eventually, after a few minutes, you just like sit back and drink a drink and just watch everyone, right? It's a big people watching area. So bigger is not always better for that reason. In addition to that, a lot of the people that go to these big events, you'll never see again. They're not really there to get to know you or to get to know your business and really network with you. All they want to do is get your business. And so that's why they attend there. They pass out a bunch of business cards and they go there just to network and have a good time. Now, I will say one thing about these big events before we move on, Scott, is that it's a great place if you're promoting an event where you can pass out a flyer and get people to come to your event. So if you're looking for a lot of people where you're just promoting an event and you don't really care about who they are, because if they come to your event, then you're going to get to know them better, then that's a great place to go. Pass out a bunch of flyers, pass out a bunch of business cards or brochures, and hopefully, a small percentage of them will show up to your event.
So Chaffee, do you have a size that you say this is a large event and this is a small event?
Well, I would say that a good sized event is right around the 20-25 range, because it's big enough where there's enough people that you can mix and mingle, only it's small enough where you can actually get to know enough people. So around that 15, 20, 25, anything 15 and less, I'd say is getting on the small side. Anything over 25, then really, it starts to get loud. People start breaking up into different groups. I know for my lunch networking, because we're sitting down and eating lunch and we're around a table, I like to keep that around 6 to 8 people, because anything more than that, then I have 2 separate groups that break up and I can't hear one person all the way down over here in a loud restaurant. So it really, again, depends upon the group format and what you're looking to accomplish. And a good networking group where you have maybe a speaker and some training as well as some mixing and networking is right around that 20-25 range. Anything bigger than that, you tend to be, like I said, it's like a business chamber after hours, and there's might be like 75 or 100 people at that after hours. So again, it's a good chance to practice your networking, maybe to go up and tell somebody your 90-second elevator pitch and mess it up, right? So that you can go to a different person and not really care because you'll never see that other person again. So those kind of events, like I said, are really good to practice, to get out there and present flyers. Only if you really want to start meeting people and building true relationships, you want to keep it around that 20-25 range.
Yeah, I was thinking of a couple of events I went to that were about 50, and what ended up happening is exactly as you said. They ended up being little cliques, even though nobody maybe knew each other very well before. Is you would get into kind of this group conversation, and you didn't. For me, it felt like I didn't feel comfortable actually leaving and go talk to somebody else. Like it wasn't easy to mix, right?
Right.
Where I guess maybe if the organizer said, okay, everybody go find a different person to talk to, that might have given everybody the excuse. But it just seemed like once you got sat in a place, then it was kind of like, well, I'm here and I'm talking to these people and now we're having a conversation. I can't really leave. So have you any advice for how to kind of, oh, nice to meet you, Chaffee. We've had a chat for 10 or 15 minutes and the thing is going to last for 4 hours. So I don't want to be talking to you for 4 hours and not talk to other people, because I'm here to meet all these people, but I don't know how to get myself out of this conversation. And it could be like 4 or 5 people that are around us all talking, right?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I'll say about that. First of all, is that you're a polite networker, right? So you don't want to just break away from somebody and say, hey, I got to go meet other people. And by the way, I have done that before. And understand, you got to remind these individuals that you're talking to, they're there, some of them are there to, like I said, socialize. They're not really there to network. They're there to have a good time, maybe eat some snacks, some after hour hors d'oeuvres, shall we say. And so if you remind them, hey, I'm here to go meet people and I'm here to network, so I got to go talk to a bunch more people, then that's a way of breaking out. I will tell you the best way to really go around and meet a lot of people is find out who is either the organizer or who is a longtime member of that group. Introduce yourself and ask them to introduce you to some of the other members in the group. And so what will happen then is that they'll actually take you and walk you and introduce you to several of the members so that you can actually break away and say, oh, I'd like to meet this person, or I'd like to meet this person, or I'd like to meet this person. And they'll be your excuse, or they can be your excuse to go around and meet a bunch of people because they're going to introduce you to a bunch of people. So that's one of the best ways is to, like I said, either ask somebody that's a longtime member, or if you're a longtime member, then a good reason for you to go is, oh, there's a new person. I need to go meet that new person. Right. And so on both ends, that either you're a longtime member or you're looking for a longtime member.
And I was thinking as you were talking, Chaffee, that would be really good for if you're looking for a particular type of person, like you want to network and you want to meet someone that's, say you want to meet roofers, for example, or, a specific industry. You can say to that person, hey, I really want to meet somebody I'm looking at buying a house. I really want to meet a good realtor. Do you know any in the group here? And they'll say, yeah, there's Susie and there's Joe and there's Sam, and they'll take you around, and you've got a kind of a reason to continue talking, right?
Absolutely. And I will say, here's another good example or a good reason to break away is if you see somebody by themselves, standing by themselves, a good excuse or a good reason for you to leave is say, you know what, I see somebody over there by themselves that I've never met. Let me go talk to them, make sure that they get integrated into the group. So again, kind of sets you up as a person that's going to, network and put everyone together. And what you'll find is that at these big events, these really big events, as you said, there's going to be clumps of people. And usually in those clumps, there's one person who's the big wig that's doing all the talking, right? And so a lot of times I'll know who that person is because I attend all these groups. and I know what they're about. And what I'll look for is, like I said, the people that are onesie twosies, or the people that are just, not hanging around there. So I can introduce myself to them and actually be of value to those individuals versus being the guy that everyone is around, which I've done that too. So remember, you're going to these networking events to meet people, not to stand there and just talk about the weather all day long. And you only have a certain period of time in order to accomplish your goal. So keep it in your mind that what is the primary focus? What is the primary goal of me being here? And if it's to, chill out and have a good time, well then, sit back and let people come to you and relax. If it's really to get start building some relationships and get to know a lot of people, then you need to start moving around, because that's the purpose of networking.
Good. So that's the end of lecture 8. And Chaffee, if I can get you to move your camera a little bit so that there's a little less space above your head when you're sitting back. Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. So we're about the same. I don't know what side you're on. It's hard to. I don't know what hand I'm putting up. Actually, it's kind of weird. All right.
I'm to your left.
That's
You're
my
to
left.
You're
That's my
here.
left.
There you go.
Okay. Lecture 9.
What is this? Lecture 9 is. Oh, wait. I didn't talk about preparing yourself. Oops.
You didn't talk about preparing yourself.
Yeah, so I have, when you go to large networking events, prepare yourself, 1, 2, and 3.
No, I don't see it.
I completely forgot about that. You don't see it? It's in the notes? You don't see the notes?
Maybe I didn't copy it over into Udemy.
No.
Well, let's say, can we put it into membership has its privileges?
Yeah, let me see real quick.
Because some members are large, some groups are large, some are small.
All right, let's just move on. I could fit that in somewhere else.
Okay.
Let's see. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Your new business. Group description. So I think I tell a story here because that's really a long section. Who's running the group? Oh, here's some questions. Do not argue. Do not show up. Oh, I tell a story about 500 people being pre-registered and 3 showing up. All right.
So are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. I just figured a new way I'm going to new thing I'm going to do to block off these, making it easier for the editor, which is I'm going to, how come it didn't show? Oh.
Right in the middle.
It's right
behind it.
Oh, this is background. Darn. Hang on.
You know, you have a picture of a lady with boobies in your back.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it? But she's wearing a shirt, as you can see.
Oh, okay. Hard to tell.
That's a shirt.
I can't tell if she's wearing underwear or not, though.
I'm kind of stuck with it. Just happened to be where I sat. Now you've got legs. It's Colombia. What can I say?
That's right.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show flowers.
Okay.
And then we know. All right. This is lecture 9. Sometimes you get what you pay for. 5, 4, 3.
So when you're going out and you're checking out different networking groups, all I have to say is sometimes you get what you pay for. A lot of people are looking for the free events. And I got to tell you, I've been to some free events and they're free for a reason. Okay. So a lot of my events, I actually charge a nominal fee of $5 or $10. I call that a commitment fee because if you're not serious about your business, you're not going to be paying $5 or $10 for to attend a networking event. And I know when you're first starting out, when you're getting going, you're on a budget. And so a lot of people look for these free events. And I got to caution you against these free events is to do your research ahead of time. And I'll give you an example. I was actually a speaker at an event where they were promoting this event. And usually we find out how many people pre-register for the event. Okay. And so at this event, they were promoting it, and we found out that they were promoting it as a free event. And so they had a whole bunch of people register for this event. As a matter of fact, they had 500 people pre-register for this event. And so this was something that I had to fly out of town for, spend my time, go out of town, prepare my presentation, and go on stage. There were actually 6 other speakers as well, so I wasn't the only one. And we were all expecting several hundred people at this event. Well, it turns out when we got there, can you imagine how many people showed up because it was a free event? That's right, 3. 3 people out of 500 pre-registered people showed up. And we asked them like how they promoted this and everything. And they're like, oh, we went out there and we passed out a bunch of flyers and people told us they were going to show up. Well, the 3 people, by the way, that showed up were the organizers' family members. So they weren't even real registrants. So they weren't even real people. And I know this is an extreme case. I mean, that was just dismal results. If you got 500 people pre-registered, you at least expect, 25 to 50 on the very extreme low end. And in essence, they had no people show up. And so be aware of these free events. It looks really cool. I know a lot of times people will promote an event on Facebook. And what I found out is that it's easy to get a bunch of people to RSVP yes on Facebook. And we'll usually have about 80% of those people not show up if they RSVP yes on Facebook. I've used other RSV methods like Meetup, Eventbrite, and EventB, and a couple other ones that we'll use for pre-registrants. And the best results are always if you charge a $5 or $10 or $20 nominal fee for people to show up, because then there's a commitment, right? They've actually made a commitment to show up. They put their money where the mouth is, shall we say. And so be careful of, again, sometimes you get what you pay for. Now, I've also been to events that cost $50 to $100 or more, and they've been a complete waste of time because all they do when you get there is attempt to sell you something. Okay, so it is very important for you to do your research ahead of time to see who is the speaker, what is the format of the group, right? Who's the organizer, what they intend to do during that time that you're attending the group, and how many people are possibly potentially showing up. So if you do all this research ahead of time and you have a particular focus in mind and it aligns up, well, then you take that chance and you go to that event and see what kind of results you get. If your purpose doesn't align with the rest of the results, then maybe you take a pass on that one and look for something else. Okay, because I will tell you again, sometimes you get what you pay for, and I've paid a lot of money for certain things, and it's been well worth it. And other times, if I haven't done my research or if I've not paid attention to what was going on, then I just wasted a lot of money. So don't always go to the free events. Don't always go to the paid events. Do your research ahead of time. I think that I've been saying that over and over again throughout this entire training, is that it's important for you to spend the time before you go to these events in order to maximize your time at the events.
Good, and that's the end of lecture 9.
Let's see. Membership has its privileges. Okay.
All right, this is lecture 10. Membership has its privileges. 5, 4, 3.
So I believe most of you have seen the commercials that will show you a card that says membership has its privileges. Well, it's the same thing for networking events. It's the same thing for networking groups, shall I say. There are a lot of groups out there, such as a Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Group, the BNI groups, and different kinds of groups that actually charge you a membership fee to attend that networking group. And what I will say is that sometimes, if you do your research ahead of time and aligns with what you're looking for, membership has its privileges. I talked before about one of the groups that I attended that had a network of conference rooms available for all of its members. And so they had an online calendar that only members can access. And if you were going to do a networking event or a training or a small group, then you could book any number of conference rooms within that particular area if it was available and use it for free. And so the membership to that group was about $1,000 a year, which isn't too bad. And the fact that I was able to use a conference room anywhere within in my area, Chicagoland area, for free as a member was a huge benefit, because for me to rent a room in a hotel for an evening is anywhere between $200 to $300 a night. Okay, so if I'm holding a meeting every single week, which I was doing for quite some time, that can add up. And so that membership more than paid for itself just for the access to the conference rooms. Now, what I can also say is that, again, the members that are paying $500 or $1,000 a year to attend these networking groups, again, have some kind of vested interest. They've put some skin in the game, shall we say. And so they're more likely to be focused on networking and getting and exchanging business than somebody just attending a free event. So how do you find out about these? Obviously, you do your research online, you find out about these groups, and then look for the ones that I will say that have the free preview where you can attend for free once, or if you can get invited for free once, you can check them out, check out its members, check out what they do. And then after you've gone once for free or for very, very little, sometimes $5 or $10, then you can decide if that group is for you or not. And not only do these groups have perks like this conference room, some of them have other discounted relationship with vendors. A lot of RIA clubs or real estate investment associations have relationships with different kind of vendors like Home Depot and Office Max and things like that, where you can get a discount for being a member of that group. And so again, look and see what that group offers instead of just looking at how much it's going to cost for you to be a member, right? Because again, membership could have its privileges if it's in alignment with what your business is or what you're looking for. Don't be afraid to invest that money into a membership where it gives you access to a network of individuals, all like-minded, all focused on the same thing. And sometimes we call this a mastermind group, right? And check out who's running it, check out how they're running it, how often they meet, and again, what is the purpose behind the group. I've spent a lot of money on mastermind groups. Some of them have been phenomenal, incredible, and some of them have been, again, a waste of money. And so do your research ahead of time, find out what that is and what that purpose is, and don't be afraid to make that investment, whether it's $500 or $1,000 or even $50,000, if you know that you're going to get some benefit out of that. And I've done that before, and I will tell you some of the higher end, upper level masterminds where there's some real big players, shall we say, in the industry that attend. I've more than doubled, tripled, or quadrupled my money in those investments. And so do your research ahead of time. Check out the membership groups that have memberships, because they do stand apart from the free events that are scattered all over the place. What you'll want to do is you'll probably want to join one or two of those membership groups, and then check out a bunch of other groups that that don't have memberships that you can just attend once here, once there, whenever you have free time. So
I want to just add to that, Taffy, that I was a member of the Rotary Club for many, many years, and mostly in smaller towns, like 15, 20,000 people, or maybe 100,000 people. And what you got out of the Rotary Club was you got access to the kind of higher end business leaders and owners in your area. And there's usually 2 or 3 or 4 clubs, and you just you pick one, join it. I was president of the club, so I was in training 1 year. I was president 1 year. I was past president the next year. And what it really did was make you known in the community, particularly, and like anything else, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I was basically the most well-known person in one of my towns, because it just so happened we were building a new store and I was president. And so every time I turned around, I knew the reporters, because again, there's small community paper, small community radio, and they would all say, well, we need some news. Well, tell us about the store, tell us about what you're doing with Rotary. And we would, we'd have ribbon openings, and we bought this for the hospital and all the rest of it. So you can really get a lot out of the introduction, right? So one of the things you talked about a lot was, the savings that you can get because you're part of a membership, but also it's, I could open any door I wanted in those towns because I was involved in the community, I was involved in the club, and I got to know all these people who were the owners of this and the owners of that, and that sort of thing. So I really wanted to emphasize that if you're really clear on who your ideal prospect and customer is, then when you go to these meetings, it's not, are you my ideal customer? It's, do you know my ideal customer? Because people don't like to be sold to. They don't really like it. I mean, Rotary makes a point of saying, don't do business at the Rotary lunch, so they would all go for coffee afterwards and do their business then. But you really want to be able to reach your ideal customer. That's the whole point of being in the networking, right? And of course, you're a customer as well. So who are you the ideal customer for, right? So oftentimes I would be, like, if I was looking for a car, I would go to whoever was the car guy, and I talked to him about what I wanted. And oftentimes what I wanted wasn't necessarily the type of car that they made, and they would say, well, I happen to know this guy over here, go see him. And you get the referrals both ways, and all of a sudden it makes life a lot easier, right? Because it's not just you going up to one person saying, well, do you want my widget? Do you want my widget? No. Do you want my widget? No. You're going up to one person saying, I have this amazing widget, and who do you know that needs it? And then they would give you 5 people, and then they'd introduce you to the 5 people. Right? I'll send an email to them and tell them you're calling, and then you go, in a way it goes. So I really wanted to emphasize the fact that if you're clear about who you want, and your group gives you access to those types of people, then it's really, really a good exchange of your time and money.
So first, Scott, I want to say that I can't believe that I missed being part of a group where you were president. So I think that would have just been a blast. So outside of that, I do want to address service organizations that require a membership fee. And I remember thinking way back in the day when I was in high school and college, I joined a service group, and there was a membership fee, and I'm like, why am I paying to go volunteer, right? And I want you to keep in mind again is that by doing so, by being a member in that organization, it gave me huge benefits of membership benefits, including, like I said, different relationships to vendors, as well as relationship to the members. Now, I know the Rotary, as a matter of fact, the Rotary membership is a decent sized investment for some individuals, especially if you're starting a business. And the Rotary does huge projects throughout the year for the community. And that's really the purpose, the primary purpose, they say, of the Rotary is to do community service projects. For example, in my area, the Rotary is about $2,500 a year just for the membership. And then once you start going out throughout the year and all the things that they do and the donations you make, it ends up being about $7,500 a year just to be part of the Rotary. Well, when you're part of the Rotary, not only do you attend the meetings, you participate in the events that they're doing. And one of the events that they do is they raise money for the local hospitals. And at this annual fundraiser that they do, they typically raise between $150,000 to $200,000 for the local hospitals in the area, which is an incredible amount for those hospitals. And so they do a lot of good in that sense. And as you said, Scott, in my local Rotary is the chief of the fire department, is the chief of the police department, is the mayor and the members of the township show up. And so a lot of big community players are part of the Rotary that you can get access to, that you can meet, that you can talk to, that you can network with, and hopefully do business with as well. And being part of that Rotary for $7,500 throughout the entire year opens up doors that will flow money back into you and your business if you network properly in that organization. So don't think of it as I got to pay money to volunteer or to help people. It's, you're paying money to an organization to become a member of something greater than yourself that gives you access to multiple different doors and opportunities that you would never otherwise have. So keep that in mind instead of just, and also I will say that it is the best of both worlds, because you do, as part of the Rotary or as part of a service organization, you do get to help out the community and you get to help out other people while you're doing business as well. So it's the best of both worlds.
Right. And we're talking about Rotary, but there's a number of other clubs and groups around. And the one thing, so of all of these groups, is they're all worldwide, right? So what's really cool is, first of all, locally, you've got 3 or 4 clubs, and you can go and be a guest of this Rotary Club and that Rotary Club. And when you, by the way, you have to be invited to join, and they give you a free trial. In other words, you can come have lunch and you can meet people and decide if, and they'll decide if they like you and you decide if you like them. But once you're in any of these groups, when you travel, then you can do a makeup meeting around the world, which is really cool, depending on your business, right? And even not depending on your business, to have connections, all around your city, all around your province or state, all around your country, all around, the world is a pretty cool thing. And I know a lot of people that's what they do. They'll go on a cruise, maybe, I was going to say around China, but might not be a good idea right now. But, they'll get off the cruise ship and there'll be a Rotary meeting in that town, and they'll go to it. So all of a sudden they meet a whole bunch of people that they wouldn't meet otherwise. And it's fun. And the more you meet people, here's one other side benefit of everything we do is you get confident, right? The more networking you do, the more confident you do, the more you go and you're welcomed into the group as a brother or sister, right? You're not, well, I don't know who this guy is. We're not going to, leave him in the corner. They all want to make sure that when you leave, you tell your home club how great this club was, right? So they're all going to be very welcoming, and you're going to be practicing your networking, and it's the cost of a lunch, which is, 10, 15, 20 bucks or something like that, which is great. All of which, by the way, tax deductible. So keep that in mind.
Additional benefit, absolutely.
Additional benefit. All right. That's the end of lecture 11. And I'll put up our little thingy. And now we have time for the summary.
What's the summary?
There's no, I didn't put any description in the summary, what we talked about.
Oh, there's one more section to this, though.
Lecture 11.
What?
Sorry. We just finished lecture 11, right?
Right. There's one more.
This is a summary of the section.
There's one more before the summary. And
that is, time is your most important resource?
Yes.
This is why we put the flowers up.
Why? So you can smell the flowers?
No, so that when I move beyond where I'm supposed to be, we can we can have our discussion.
Okay.
All right, lecture 11, time is your most important resource. 5, 4, 3.
So I want to mention something that we've really been focusing on throughout it's been kind of a theme throughout this whole process of networking, which is time is your most important resource. Okay, you can spend the money, you can spend the resources, the materials, the business cards, all that kind of stuff. And in reality, time is where your most important resource is. And if you think about it, you have 86,400 seconds in a day that keeps ticking away, regardless of whether you're at an event that is beneficial to you or at an event that is just a waste of your time, right? And so, again, it's important for you to do your research ahead of time so that when you get to that event, that one, it's an event that is going to be beneficial to you, and two, that you can make the most out of that event. So let me give you another couple tips to do in order to prepare for that. First and foremost is know your product or service or whatever it is that you're going to be talking about. I can't tell you how many times I'll go to a networking event and I'll ask somebody what they do, and they have no idea how to explain what they do. I mean, if they don't know or they can't explain what they do, then how am I supposed to understand what they do, right? So you got to make sure that you know your product or service so that when somebody asks you a question, it just rolls off and it shows that you're an expert and you're somebody I want to work with. Because if you are unable to answer my questions in a I guess, knowledgeable or reasonable manner, and even if that answer is, that's a really good question, let me get back to you. I know somebody that can get that answer for you, and I'll get back to you. Then, I'm not sure if I want to do business with you because maybe you're not the right person who really understands what this product or service is. So how can you really help me, right? And then secondly, is make sure that you go to these events and you know your 30-second or 90-second pitch and it's consistent. Again, when you're going to multiple different events and you're saying different things all over the place, that sometimes gets around. And so people will find out who is this person? Oh, they told me that they're doing this. Oh no, they said they're doing this. Well, if you're consistent in your branding and in your message, then that also spreads. And so people will start to get to know you and what you do before you even appear. And that's happened to me before. People will hear about me, or they'll hear about me or see me online. And then when I get to the event, they're like, oh, you're that guy that I heard about, right? Oh, that's what you do. And so again, when you're consistent in your branding, your message, that helps spread the word as you attend these networking events. So know your product, know your service. And then, as I've said throughout this entire training, do your preparation ahead of time, right? Check out to see who the organizer is, check out to see who the members that are attending are, check out to see what the topic is, how long is it going to take. I know in my past, when I've attended networking events, I've driven 2 hours to attend a 1-hour event and then 2 hours back home. So I'll spend 5 hours to go to a networking event and got huge benefit from it. On the flip side, I've also spent 10 minutes to get to an event that I had to spend 2 hours at. And then I got home and was like, what the heck happened? I just wasted 2 hours of my life. So it's not the distance, it's not the time, it's not the money, it's to the event, the time to the event. I mean, time itself is the most important resource you have. The 5 hours that I spent at that one event, even though it was 4 hours of driving, was well worth the 5 hours because of all the information and the networking I got from it, versus the 2 hours I spent close by that I was thinking, oh, well, it's close. I'll just pop in, get some information, network with some people and leave. Well, that was a whole waste of time, right? So again, time is your most important resource. So make sure that you go prepared so that you can maximize your time at these events and that you actually get what you're looking for at the event.
And that's the end of that lecture. I couldn't think of anything to add.
Okay. All right. Do we have time for a summary or next time?
Next time. Because,
okay.
Yeah, we've only got a couple minutes.
No worries.
Great. Thanks, Chaffee.
All right. So I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Same time, I think.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Scott.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Reach out if you need anything.
I
Bye.
will. Thanks.